Okay, hello there. We are going to talk about the newly drawn up New York State Senate and New York Congress seats that were drawn up back on Monday, and I am sorry that I am behind on this. I've needed a little bit of time to comprehend this information, and I want to mention that um, even a friend of mine in Mineola, no, not Pine Power, but a different friend of mine, she and I were looking at the maps and we're just beyond baffled about the changes that are coming to Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and a couple parts of Queens to be precise. So we're going to get into a lot of these changes, and I'll just mention that there are a lot of notable changes for Carolyn Maloney, Jared Nadler, John Liu, Toby and Stravinsky, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, for anybody in District 11, and I know I have my family in Staten Island who may be watching this, I may have a couple of my viewers who live in Baywitch, Brooklyn. The good news is your district is not touched. So, even if Max Rose were to give another shot at it, you got to remember, Nicole Maliotakis is a very popular figure now. She is known nationally outside of New York, and given that she has faced scrutiny for voting on the infrastructure bill back in 2021, keep in mind that that infrastructure bill was needed. I mean, we're so behind on other fronts of that. I mean, Japan and Korea are more advanced in their infrastructure than we are. So, yes, let's get into this. Also, I want to mention in Long Island, Lee Zeldin's district's getting a big shift, and we're going to get into that. So let's go to the big noticeable changes that we're going to talk about. And this is the first big noticeable change that we need to discuss. So, if you are not aware of the big news came out that District 12, the newly drawn up congressional district, and this was done by, who was this drawn up by? Okay, so this was drawn up by a New York Supreme Court judge. Okay. Special Master Jonathan Service will create 8 competitive races across New York State. So I want to look up a couple of the New York of the upstate ones, because a couple of Republican seats may be safe in upstate. We're gonna have to take a look at later on. But yeah, so let's get to the main point here, why I'm doing this video, and that is the big development that came out back on Monday. So it looks like if this map holds, and I would suggest to the Democrats that appealing this is not a good idea, because then what you're going to do is you're going to further delay the primary, which is now scheduled on August 20. I think it's August 30th. Yeah, August 30th. I think it's August 30th, but I'm not too sure at the moment. I'll pull up the date as soon as I edit the next clip. So I was able to pull up a document from the Federal Elections Commission, the FEC, which, again, that's how presidential campaigns have been filed always in the past. So it says here that the New York election has been moved to August 23rd, which would be a Tuesday. So remember, we are voting for governor and New York State Assembly in New York on June 28th. And I want to mention that I've actually heard from the New York City Board of Elections that the Fresh Meadows community will be allowed to vote at St. John's University. And the early voting will take place on June 18th and will last until June 26th. So those dates I can definitely confirm. But let's get into here. This is very important. Now, traditionally, the east and the west side of Manhattan have been separated by, of course, two representatives. Longtime representatives Carolyn Maloney, who represents the east side, and of course you have Jared Nadler, who represents the west side of Manhattan. So this is going to be very interesting, and as I said, the Democrats cannot appeal this right now because they are making a big mistake to the voters of the state of New York. Because now that you're already going to be fatigued with the June primary, given that there might be a little bit less enthusiasm with the Democrats, the Republicans are going to build a lot more enthusiasm for their case this year. But in terms of the only enthusiasm that you have with the Democrats right now, it's honestly going to be in the new 12th Congressional District, which would, again, have Maloney representing the east side and Nadler representing the west side in a one-on-one matchup. So, this is what Congressman Nadler tweeted back on Monday. And he said, in quote, "I believe these newly proposed lines for the special master violate the constitutional requirements of keeping communities of interest together and keeping the cores of existing districts largely intact. However, provided that they become permanent, I very much look forward to running in and representing the people of the newly created 12th District of New York." Then, of course, that Carolyn Maloney did announce that she will be running in the primary coming up on August 23rd. So it says here that she basically is going to be running. And the main thing is Maloney has been in Congress since 1993. Nadler has been representing Congress since 1992. So keep in mind that for Jared Nadler, for the work that, again, his work in Congress should not be taken for granted, given that he actually did help get the stimulus packages, the two that were done in 2020 from COVID relief, and then the third stimulus back in 2021. And Maloney did have a little bit of part of it too, but again, Nadler did a majority of the work. So that's one of the issues the candidates are going to have to focus on, talking about the recovery from COVID. And, you know, the economy is going to factor in on this upcoming election. I think that's going to be the main issue. And a lot of people think it's going to be Roe versus Wade, the woman's right to choose. And, you know, that's one thing, yes. You got to remember, even if, you know, you got this battle of states battling over abortion rights, you know, the average American's not really going to care about that right now. Given that, again, the economy, given that it's still a very fragile economy since March of 2020, it's been in a tailspin. So this is what the new 12th Congressional District will look like. Now, given that it looks like this is going to be north of West 4th Street, and we'll zoom in for just a second. Let's see, because this map is very specific. It definitely has been in my book. Let's see what this is. This is 3rd Avenue, this is Gramercy Park, so I'm getting a little bit of an idea. Yeah, see, this is very interesting, that Union Square Park is going to be this new represented district. And then we move on to the newly created 10th Congressional District, which is very interesting, and I'm glad that this is a fair district. Okay, I believe that this is definitely a fair district, because again, District 11 will be untouched. Nicole Maliotakis' seat will be fine. She'll definitely keep that seat because, again, remember, she's a very popular figure in the Staten Island community. So, and not to mention, she just received Donald Trump's endorsement. So that's another factor to look into, considering that Trump's New York base is in Staten Island. So the 10th District, which will represent parts of Greenwich Village, which will represent the financial district, and will also represent Park Slope, Sunset Park. I'm trying to see how south this is going to end up going. Yeah, I think this may go all the way to Coney Island, if I'm correct. No, okay, this won't go to Coney Island. Yeah, Coney Island will be District 8, like I figured. Okay. So how far south will the 10th District go? I'm thinking... I'm not going to speculate on any neighborhoods, but I know this is going into Sunset Park. That's a given. So here we go. Bill de Blasio announces that he is going to run for that seat. So originally, a couple of months ago, Bill de Blasio said that he wasn't going to run based on the current congressional seating. But now that the 10th District is going to be its own separate area, Bill de Blasio, the former two-term mayor of New York City, is now considering going to Washington, D.C. Yep. So that is the situation that would be unfolded here. Now, remember, Nicole Maliotakis' district was set to face off here, but Bill de Blasio was basically afraid of primarying Max Rose, so that's what led to a lot of controversy here. Now, we're going to take a look at the 7th Congressional District, and this is very interesting because now you're going to have two separate areas. So now, if I am correct, AOC's district is going to shrink a little bit. From what I was saying to my friend in Mineola, I was telling her, well, with this new map, AOC's district is now going to end on Roosevelt Avenue right by 85th Street. So she will no longer be representing west of 85th Street anymore. Instead, that's going to be Grace Ming's district. Now, keep in mind, with the Asian demographic in District 6, her district will not be phased. So she should get another term in this district. Even if a Republican challenger were to come in, remember, Grace Ming has a lot of familiarity with the Asian community for many years. And the only way that this district ever flips is if something were to happen. Let's say she doesn't run for Congress again. Let's say something happened to her while she was in office. You know, I don't want to speculate on that, but that would logically be the only way Grace Ming would not be representing her own congressional district. Now, moving up, let's focus on AOC's district, District 14. So it looks like AOC's going to be representing East Elmhurst. It sounds like AOC's going to be representing Astoria. And then you go, I guess, let's see if I can get a notable street around here, because I know this is going to be a lengthy video, but we have a lot to talk about. Yes, okay, here's Broadway. So, again, if you're looking at Crescent Street, this is where her new district's going to be. And then, of course, you have AOC's traditional district of Throgs Neck, where she grew up. And apparently, it looks like AOC's going to be representing Tremont, East Tremont, it looks like. Unless I could be wrong, but it looks like AOC's also going to be representing Co-op City. Alright, so that's an interesting development. So now let's go to Long Island. So at the moment, it looks like the 3rd Congressional District is going to gain a little bit of ground. Now, I want to see what's going to happen with Massapequa. Whoa! Okay. If you're Andrew Garbarino, I think you need to be concerned because now it sounds like Andrew Garbarino's going to have a very tough time getting reelected. This is a complete shock. I did not even see this coming. This is Anthony Garbarino's new district. And keep in mind, this used to be the area where Peter King represented Congress for Massapequa for so long. Okay, this is completely shocking right here. Now, remember, Congressional District 3, it's being vacated by current Congressman Tom Suozzi, who is at the moment trying to gain a little bit of momentum. But right now in District 4, you're looking at a situation where former Nassau County Executive Laura Curran, in theory, could jump into this race. I would not rule out the possibility that Laura Curran, for the popularity that she has in this, I guess, area, you would say, you got to keep in mind that outside of East Meadow, because that's where Bruce Blakeman got a lot of his votes in 2021, outside of that, this is a very decent chance that if Laura Curran, the former Nassau County executive, were to jump into this race, she has a pretty good chance. Now in District 3, again, keeping in mind that my friend's romantic partner, let's just say, they're now going to be living in the same congressional district beginning on Friday, on the 20th. So look at that. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, me and her looked at the map, and we were just completely caught off guard when we saw the map was drawn up into Massapequa. We were just like, what? How could that be? I mean, just like how everybody was caught up with Manhattan. Currently, right now, outside of Laura Curran, we actually have another Laura running in this district. And who's the other Laura, you may be wondering, and you may remember her name. Former Town of Hempstead Supervisor Laura Gillen, who I am very familiar with. She has actually visited Echo Park in West Hempstead numerous times in the past, along with, of course, the current town supervisor, Don Clavin. But keep in mind that a couple years ago, Laura Gillen lost to Don Clavin, and now you're looking at a situation where, again, this is likely going to be a safe district. This is definitely a safe blue, given the circumstance. Now, we got to remember one thing, and that right now is the incumbent, Kathleen Rice, has announced that she is retiring. So again, we could possibly have the Battle of the Lauras in District 4. I would not rule that out at the moment between Laura Curran and Laura Gillen. And the only thing that I would wonder is the liberal area of Long Beach. I mean, how are they going to vote? I mean, it's really going to come down to what happens, because Laura Gillen's going to have to spend a lot of time in Long Beach during the summer to present her case, because that's going to be her district. So that needs to be kept in mind. Currently at this time, we do not know any Republicans running in either the 3rd or the 4th district, other than the 3rd district, which again, we know that Andrew Garbarino is going to have to run in the new district if he's even thinking about it, given the circumstances. Currently, right now, this is his campaign website, and he is still claiming that he is running for another term. So, again, we'll have to see what happens in the 3rd District. Suffolk County is going to have a little bit of a mess right now, because now that you're looking at District 2 being drawn up in a different fashion, this is going to be very interesting going into the election coming up in August. And then District 1, remember, this is currently Congressman Lee Zeldin's district. But remember, Lee Zeldin is running for governor, and he likely can be the nominee for governor of New York. But remember, next month he's facing a very competitive primary against Andrew Giuliani. So the primary in New York is going to get a lot of national attention coming up next month, because we know that Donald Trump has endorsed Andrew Giuliani, the son of former 2-term New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. So we know that Andrew Giuliani did serve as an advisor to Donald Trump in the past. So we're going to see what the developments are in, of course, Long Island. Now, as far as Representative Elise Stefanik's district, she will not be touched. She should be fine. In fact, I think she's gaining a little bit more ground in the North Country. So look at that. I mean, this should definitely be a safe red. No question about that. And lastly, let's take a look at District 19. Now, why are we going to focus on District 19? Well, this is the district that was vacated recently by Congressman Anthony Delgado. But now, with the newly drawn up map in District 18 for Dutchess County is where current County Executive Mark Maliniero's job is. So now this is going to put Mark Maliniero in a very tough spot, is now he will have to run against current incumbent Sean Patrick Maloney. Originally, Mark Malinero thought, hey, maybe I'm going to be in Antonio Delgado's district. But now with the newly drawn up map, it really makes it difficult now for Mark Malinero to get elected to the United States Congress. Does he have a good shot? There is, but again, in this new congressional district, you're looking at a situation, and we'll pull up District 18. You got Orange County. Not Orange County, no. See, I forget what county is Middletown, New York, but I will pull that up on my phone in just a bit, because Middletown, New York technically votes Democrat a lot. So you're looking at Orange County. Yes, like I figured. Okay. That is Orange County, correct. So now that makes it a lot difficult, because now you're looking at a situation where could there be a chance Mark Malinero wins? There is a good chance Mark Malinero is going to have to travel to neighboring Orange County to present his case, because now again, it makes it very difficult for Mark Malinero's path to Congress. And District 17, now this makes sense. I mean, you have all Rockland and a majority of Westchester. So, I'm not going to get into that, but that's the situation for Congress pretty much in New York State. So now let's focus on the New York State Senate. So Michael Gianaris, who was the man who wrote the so-called Cuomo-era bail reform law back in 2019, District 12 has now been split into at least 3 new areas. In Brooklyn, District 20, represented by Salem Riyar, has stretched from Sunset Park all the way to Brownsville. Now it's been more compact into Prospect Park, into Park Slope, and Crown Heights. In Manhattan, Brad Hoylman's seat has been moved south to cover all lower Manhattan. His previous territory, stretching from the East 20s to the Upper West Side, has been split into 4 districts. So again, a lot of primaries are going to have to really come out. I mean, we know a lot about state assembly. I mean, at the moment, I'm looking at the new map, and I know one thing is for sure. If I am correct, I just want to take a look at State Assembly District 25. Let me just see something for a second. Okay, so District 25 will not be untouched, it looks like. Because remember, my state assemblywoman is... Let's pull up her picture. This is not a good accurate... this is what comes up on Google, but yeah. See, Nili Rosick is still going to be representing Fresh Meadows if she gets another term. But I think there may be a Republican challenging her, maybe. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in the New York State Assembly. The city failed to mention, the city magazine or whatever it's called. I can't even get into specifics. They had specifically forgot to mention that at the moment, Toby and Stravinsky's district is now going to cover parts of Fresh Meadows now. And you may be wondering, what does District 16 have to do for me in Fresh Meadows? Well, I will explain that. Because the newly drawn up District 16 will in fact cover all parts of Fresh Meadows. So meaning, District 16, the new district, and let's just make sure that we are going to confirm this information right now. It looks like John Liu's district in District 11 will be shrunk down to no longer cover Fresh Meadows. So this is definitely a fair district map. I am in complete agreement with this New York State judge in Albany. Because think about it. Even though you have the Asian vote in Fresh Meadows, even though it did matter for Curtis Lewa last year, the numbers prove it for the mayoral election, you gotta understand that the Jewish vote also counts in Fresh Meadows. Alright, we have a lot of Buckerian Jews in this area. And especially how, you gotta keep in mind that some of the Jews in Fresh Meadows are actually Ukrainians. Yeah. Keep that in mind. So, this is a big victory, definitely for the Fresh Meadows community. No question about that. Now, let me look at the Union Turnpike area. So, okay, so John Liu's district will cover this area of Union Turnpike. Wow, okay. So there's a little bit of a divide right here. And let's see, how far is John Liu's district going to cover? Hey, it looks like John Liu's district is going to cover parts of Queens Village, it looks like. Not all of Queens Village, but some of Queens Village is going to definitely feel an impact of John Liu in this district. Given that, again, in the Bayside community, you still got some of the Asian vote in Bayside, but District 11 is a very complicated area because not only do you have the Asian vote in Bayside, but also keep in mind, Bayside has been a very divided area when it comes to their politics. Because, remember, they just elected Vicky Palladino to the city council. That was a very tight race with Tony Avila. And then you got to account for the fact that in College Point, you have the working class Latino voters. So that's going to really make things difficult for John Liu, because maybe he gets one more term, but I'm telling you right now, 2024 can be a very competitive race. I don't know about this year. I can't speculate on that. But as far as my new district is concerned, and I'm going to show you Toby and Stravinsky's picture to wrap up this video, because I'm going to make one more point about Long Island for my friend in Mineola. We were looking at the state senate, and Anna Kaplan will still be representing her. So she is, of course, supporting her friend, the former mayor of Mineola, Jack Martins, to go back to the New York State Senate. And she's also friends with his daughter, of course. But anyhow, let's just focus on my area. Toby and Stravinsky. Now, who is Toby and Stravinsky? Well, this is somebody who I know pretty well. She did vote for bail reform. That's one thing. So she has been in the New York State Senate now for 20 plus years. So again, this woman is now going to be representing all of Fresh Meadows. Unless there is one candidate who I think does have a good chance to win. And who is this candidate, you may be wondering. This is Stefano Forte, the leading Republican candidate in District 16, my new district. So, again, Stefano Forte is now going to build upon now a growing district. He's now actually getting an increase in his state senate district beginning on Friday. So, yes, so of course, let's read about Steph. Now, Steph is actually from Flushing, and he is actually proposing in the New York State Senate a bill that would actually fight to preserve the Long Island pine barrens. And this is something that he's actually campaigning on for a person based in Queens, which I was surprised to hear about this, because Steph is actually an environmentalist. And of course, I'm going to get to that part in just a second. Yeah, here we go. This is the part where he is an environmentalist. I just want to see. Here we go. The American Conservation Coalition, a group dedicated to cleaning up our parks once a month. So there you go. So that is, of course, very important. And again, I've heard that he does want to draft legislation to, again, preserve the New York State pine barrens in the Long Island region. So, just to sum up what's going on here, you got to understand that there are a lot of new changes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this article in the description below. And for whatever reason, I posted on my community Facebook group for Fresh Meadows, of course. It seems nobody's taking this seriously. I mean, I get that a lot of people in Fresh Meadows, the old time residents, they were used to Frank Padovin representing the community for a very long time. And I get all that. And, I was used to it for a very long time, and I still remember when James Scanero challenged Frank Padovin. But, a lot's really going to have to come down to a lot of varying factors. And keep in mind, next year, all seats of the New York City Council are up for grabs next year due to this crazy redistricting year because the state of New York lost a congressional seat. So by losing one congressional seat, now you have this crazy madness of what can happen. And, you know, District 6 was redrawn for Fresh Meadows back in 2011. You gotta understand that. That map where Grace Ming represented, Fresh Meadows, her first election was back in 2012. 10 years ago. And that was the former longtime district where Anthony Weiner represented. So, that's one notable change that redistricting can do. So, I'm going to wrap up this video. Again, I would urge caution looking at these congressional maps. Remember, the Democrats can still appeal this because this was technically a Republican judge who made these maps. But you gotta understand that this map is very fair to the Fresh Meadows community because, yes, you'll still have an Asian representative, Grace Ming, which again, I would be very shocked if she lost. Very surprised, given the demographics. But also, again, you have the Jewish vote. And you can't suppress the Jewish vote for another elected office in the state of New York. It really wouldn't be fair. So, stay educated, be informed. Remember, you have plenty of time to understand these changes because, again, remember, the primary is not until August. So, I think a lot more people are focused on governor right now, given that, again, Andrew Cuomo resigned last year, and it's just going to be a very complicated mess because, again, are people going to give Kathy Hochul a fair chance? That is the question that would need to be answered. But again, with the crime and the economy being the main factors, it's going to really come down to that. So stay educated. Again, this article will be in the description below. And just pack some patience, because thankfully you got till August to comprehend these changes. But thankfully I've comprehended them. I've hopefully made it simple for you all. So thank you for watching, and until the next one, please take care.